What if growing your business to business company wasn't about the latest tactic, but about getting the basics right? In this episode, our guest today shares how he built two seven-figure businesses by focusing on systems, structure, and sales teams that actually like selling. You'll walk away with practical strategies to grow without guesswork and new respect for simplicity, which I really can resonate with. I enjoy that. So, welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyon, your host, Lead Machine coach, and founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind. I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life. So, whether you're just starting out or you want to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation started. Olaf Lesniak brings over a decade of experience in B2B sales and marketing with a strong foundation in the IT sector. He's my brother in IT. He's built two seven-figure companies by creating sales processes that work and teams that love executing them. From CRM integration to team motivation, he knows how to simplify growth and scale sustainably. And what I admire about that is that no fluff approach that I'm sure that we're going to enjoy in a space with clutter, with hype, and the next greatest shiny thing that is supposed to work that doesn't always do. So he's proof that getting the basics right, systems and teams follow up can create serious momentum. And his story speaks directly to our audience, founders and service providers ready to grow with structure and not stress. So Olaf, thank you so much for coming. How do you say your name correctly so the audience knows? I'm not going to try it again, though.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
How do you say it correctly in Polish? It's Lesniak. So
Lesniak.
it's very hard. Yeah, it's very hard to pronounce actually for an American. But I think you did an excellent job there. So congrats on that.
Okay, well, thank you. As your business grew, what processes did you need to standardize or automate, not just to sell more, but to consistently deliver on what you promised your customers?
Oh, I think that it's sort of a never-ending story. It was sort of a never-ending story. It is still because right now I run just a different kind of business, but it's the same. So I would say that all of the process have to be structured. All of the process have to be you know written down in some way or format in order to
Yeah,
work well and in order to so you can then in time gradually improve them. And automation, I think, is the last step of the way. While I usually see a lot of entrepreneurs starting with automation. I mean, they would like to automate things, but when I ask,
yeah,
for example, do you have a do you have a process that we need to automate? And what do you mean process? What do you mean
right.
process? We just need automation, right? So I would say that all of the processes, but when it comes to deliverability, I would say that on the intersection of the sales and the delivery of certain applications, certain solutions, it's very important to get the requirements right and then transfer those business requirements into product features in order to have the project plan that will actually be structured in a way to deliver something properly and deliver this in a way that it will be synchronized with client's business.
Yeah. And you've built those two seven-figure business to business companies. What was one simple system that made the biggest difference?
I think that for me, the biggest difference is a CRM. I
Uh-huh.
mean, like the customer relationship management software and system, because the piece of software is one thing, but processes that allow you to properly take care of stuff, sorry for that, to properly take care of stuff and properly update certain things and then take actions based on those things is the one way and one thing that, in my opinion, makes the bigger difference. Because you can have all of the leads in the world, you can have a lot of we can have an excellent sales team, but if you don't have the data to take actions when it comes to improving your lead generation process, when it comes to evaluating performance of certain sales team individuals, when it comes to answering questions like how much are we going to make next quarter, how what's the revenue going to look like, how are we doing now in comparison to the last year, are we actually improving our process of selling certain products or services, or are we actually doing um, worse than last year. These are the things that CRM enables you to do. So I think that proper usage, I would say, of CRM system is the biggest differentiator.
Yeah, and I've been in IT since the early 80s. And so I've had a lot of experience with CRM systems, and the adoption of CRM systems is probably the number one killer of that, what you just said, in moving from one CRM to the next. And I've done that with many different clients over the years. And today things have gotten much, much more powerful in the CRM world, being able to use pipelines and being able to measure those kinds of things. How do we enable business owners to help their teams adopt those new strategies that they may not be? Let's face it, every salesperson is managing a pipeline, whether or not they have a bunch of stacks of paper on their desk, or they're using Outlook or some sort of Trello or some sort of management system, but that's not scalable. So how do you get people to adopt them, and then so that the business can scale?
Yeah, so I think that the most important thing apart from a tool, because tool can enable you to do a lot of things, but one of the
Yeah.
most important things, or the most important thing, is actually management, like management, actual management. And managing is usually, at least in my opinion, a system of recurring routines that are happening within the field of the business owner set of responsibilities. So I think that this is the biggest thing that has to happen. And I think that this is the biggest differentiator. And I see oftentimes that business owners, they do not manage their sales teams. What they do is that they expect results, but they
Yeah.
do not create goals, they do not create responsibilities, and they do not, in a recurring way, evaluate the performance of people. And in that way, we can have a situation in which, okay, I have like 3, 4, 5 salespeople in my department. How do they sell? Oh, it depends. It depends on the month, of the season, and some of them are doing good or some of them are doing bad. Okay, so how do you manage that? What do you mean, how I manage that? I hire them. And I think that this is the profoundly wrong approach. So I would say that having a meeting, in my case, it's usually once a week, with a fixed agenda. That is, okay, what are your new leads that you're working on this week? What kind of deals you think you will close this week? What bottlenecks do you face when it comes to your pipeline this week? And this kind of set agenda, where you ask your sales team how are they doing within a certain, let's say, areas of their expertise or responsibilities, is the one thing that can make a big difference, even if you do not have a tool like a professional CRM.
Yeah, and I think you really hit it on the head there with management and having those check-ins. I think it's important to be very specific, like you said, about the different stages of their pipelines, instead of just saying, "Well, how's your activity this week?" or "How's this or that." Being specific about asking for bottlenecks, and do you have any friction that we need systemically to fix? Because that's, as the role of the manager or the business owner, is it's not up to the salesperson to fix the uh, the friction, unless it's a skill thing. But if it's a system thing that needs to be fixed, then they need to be aware of that.
Yes, and you've hit it right on the spot, because a lot of business owners, they do not understand that oftentimes sales is a the sales pipeline is a reflection of many different areas of our business. So
Hmm.
it's oftentimes not the salesperson responsibility to get more sales. To get more sales, that's true, but to get more
Yeah.
leads, not necessarily. To
Right.
close them efficiently, yes, of course, but what if they need some sort of an assistance from an engineer that they are not getting usually,
Mm.
or on time, or there are different aspects that affect the sales and affect the sales processes that oftentimes business owners do not know, or they are not aware of. because there is no proper communication line being set between sales, engineering, marketing, and so on and so forth. I think that the most popular thing is that this eternal conflict between marketing department and a sales department. So
Yeah.
we do not get enough leads, or you are delivering us the wrong kinds of leads, or not unqualified leads. And the marketing department is, we are not getting feedback from the sales department. And I think that that's one, and maybe not one and only, but number one thing that oftentimes you can discover during those check-ins. Like, if we don't have qualified leads, why in your opinion they're not qualified? What can we do about it? What kind of feedback we can give to our marketing agency or our marketing department in order to make them more qualified? How can we contribute to that process?
Yeah, and you mentioned that at the top of the show here, that it's that yours has been a journey, and I think that business growth and this whole management process is what I call rinse and repeat. It's an iteration through the process over and over time, because you have to refine things, because you can't just come out of the box with a new product or a new system or a new team and expect them to perform optimally until you've gone through that ongoing feedback process over and over again. So when you started with a lean budget, how did you build a sales team that sells?
You don't. I mean, like, there is no, in my opinion, at least, building a sales team without having the marketing in place is the wrong way to do things in most cases. I'm not saying it's always the case, because of course you can, I know people that have a network of freelancers that provide them with recommendations, and based on the success fee, they are making a lot of money and they are bringing a lot of money into the company. But I think that these kind of systems, these kind of partnerships are oftentimes very hard to build, very hard to put in place, and are sometimes dependable or on very, I would say, complicated, complex factors that are specific to a particular industry or particular business, let's say. But in most cases, I think that half of the marketing department, half of the sales department can even be fired, and this money could be put into the marketing aspect, marketing budget, marketing department, and so on and so forth. And why is that? Because oftentimes what salespeople are doing within small and medium companies is they are trying to get a new customer.
Yeah.
I mean, like, by outreaching, by doing some sort of various different activities that are disorganized and that are oftentimes not effective. While at the same time, they're not getting leads because there is no marketing in place that can, provide them with those leads. And if you will do this the other way around, build a marketing machine that will generate you a stable stream of new potential customers, then the problem is solved. Because up until a particular moment, you as the owner can be the salesperson, because there's probably in most of the organizations, the best kind of salesperson is the owner or co-founder or co-founders. And if you have leads and you are closing these leads, then at some point in time, you can afford to have a first salesperson. But I think that this is the way to go. So first, build a marketing machine that generates you leads. And then once you scale that, try to hire the sales department, build a sales department.
Gotcha. So many business owners focus on the getting of leads, whether through a marketing system or having outreach. But growth often breaks when things when you get more in your pipeline, things start to break down. And so, how have you scaled operations without sacrificing the quality or customer experience?
I think that, to put it simply, you have to look at every step of the pipeline, see what is being done there, build a process around it, and then reiterate that process depending on the results. And I know this might sound complex, but to put it in simple terms, let's say that you are an average business. So you have to gather some sort of requirements from a customer to implement a solution or to sell your product. Then you have to prepare the proposal. Then you have to present the proposal, or in some cases, send the proposal. And then at some point in time, you need to do a follow-up and a follow-up. that's usually what is happening. Sorry, can you hear me right? Because I think
Yep, we're buffering a little bit.
for some reason my mic disconnected. I think it should be all right now.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes, sorry for that.
cut out.
Yeah. So when it comes to these kind of steps of the process, you can look at how do we do within a certain area on a certain step or a certain stage of the pipeline, and then improve it gradually. Do we have a process to gather the requirements? Do we have a set of questions? Do we have some sort of a template? That's the starting point. Okay, we have it in place. That's great. How do we do proposals? If every time we are starting from scratch and creating that, maybe we can create some sort of templates for various scenarios, various products that are within our business. Maybe we can speed up the process of preparation. Is there a correlation between the requirements and the proposal preparation, or are we doing these things like randomly, or proposals are just copy paste without, like bridging those requirements into the solution that we are selling? And then the follow-up. And I think that the quickest win that I am introducing in many businesses nowadays is do not send the proposal through email. Present it on a call. And once you present it on a call, set up a follow-up meeting on this particular call when the actual customer will get a decision. And this is, I think, that one of the biggest tips that I can have for business owners. Once you introduce that, it will significantly, 9 out of 10 times, improve the closing rates and reduce the time that the particular deal has to spend within your pipeline. Because you are closing the window and closing the gap between sending someone something, them actually reading it, taking the time to read it, and then you following up multiple times over the course of the next few days, most of the times weeks, in order to get their feedback, decision, and so on. You can box it in order to improve the process.
Got it. So it compressed the time between the initial contact. And in fact, one of the things that I've learned is that the faster that you respond to the first inquiry and to each step in the process, the more likely you're going to move that forward to it's a high percentage rate, like in 70%. And in the follow-up, only about 7% of businesses follow up more than one time. So how is follow-up, like you just mentioned it, how important is, how can business owners improve and measure their follow-up?
So the first thing is, if you have a CRM, then you can actually see how much time leads are spending on each stage of the pipeline. And what I like to do is that I like to set up the pipeline in a way that we have like a proposal preparation, we have a proposal presentation, then we have like after first follow-up, after second follow-up, and so on and so forth. So we are actually dividing this into different stages that are reflecting our process. So that's the first thing. The second is that I would say you follow up until the moment that you hear the proper no or yes. And in my opinion, this solution of mine, probably it's not mine, probably someone thought about it earlier than me.
Sure.
But why this method is so efficient is that if you set up a meeting with your customer, you are changing the dynamic of your follow-up, because you are no longer a person that is trying to pitch or sell something or close the deal. You are only a person that is following up on a particular date on what we together have established as a date for your decision. And this is changing the dynamics significantly, and in my opinion, improves the closing rate, in a tremendous way if you do that. So I would say that follow up until the moment that you hear no, even if this means like 5, 6, 7, 8 follow-ups. But if you will set up a meeting for a follow-up, particular meeting or a date and time for a call or whatever, then your communication about this follow-up, the way that you communicate is also shifting from a needy salesperson, quote unquote, needy salesperson, to a consultant or someone that is trying to solve customers' problem, help them with
Right.
their business, and only is asking on this particular moment in time when we both agreed that this is going to happen, what's your decision? And that's it. And I think this makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it also maybe that conversation started via text or a chat or a direct message on social or an email or a phone call. When you have a face-to-face meeting, it does change the dynamic. How important is your process to building trust in early on in the sales process?
I would say it's very important. I would say that especially nowadays within the most of the markets, most of the industries are very highly competitive. Most
Uh-huh.
of the times, customers are reaching out to multiple business entities about the same product or service. So the better you do every step of the way, the higher your chances of success, the bigger the possibility that you are going to win. And in my opinion, making a difference at every step, within every stage is the one differentiator that can make you win on top of your competitors. And I don't mean to brag, of course, but I was very good at that. Our business was very good at that. We were closing an average of 41 to 45% of our deals within the very competitive industry, which was like Microsoft Cloud subscriptions and solutions.
Oh
Microsoft
wow, yeah.
365, Microsoft Azure, and so on. And why we did that? Because the first interaction was oftentimes pushing for a phone call, having a conversation, having a telco with a customer. The second stage was discovering the requirements, business requirements. It was also happening within a certain framework. So we had a Miro board. I don't know if our listeners know Miro, but it's an excellent a piece of software that enabled you to brainstorm with your team to gather ideas and to exchange information.
Hmm.
Miro.com. I really recommend that solution.
Is that
So
MIRO?
yes, Miro. It's a
Uh-huh.
very interesting piece of software. And we had a Miro board, and we were sharing the screen on a telco, gathering requirements from someone, and there was already this element of interest, professionalism, and interactivity that people were having, and they were like, okay, these companies clearly professional because they are following certain process to gather our requirements. And
Yeah.
here are the differentiators. Your competitor would only send an email. They will not push for a teleconference, so they will not have a face-to-face meeting with their potential customer. You are having this meeting, so you're already winning. They do not have the set of questions or process. They're just randomly asking about stuff. And also,
Hmm.
you are being seen as the more professional company. And then you can, take this forward with different aspects of how your proposal looks like. Do you include timeline? Do you include milestones for the project? Do you already have an idea about that? Are you asking about the budget? There are, I think, dozens of things that I think seem pretty logical, but even if they do not seem logical to someone, for example, that is listening to us and does not have experience in business like you have or I have, right now, what we can do, and this can be very helpful, is to ask the AI about how should we handle the process in a
Right.
professional way if we were a consultant within a certain industry, and then we can get really a lot of good tips from such an AI tool about how are we supposed to actually run the process to be different than our competitors.
And that's a great idea. And one of the hacks that I've learned in AI, using AI, and I use it every single day, is when I have an interview like this, or if I'm interviewing a client in their sales team or their operations team, I will ask AI for probing questions to unveil some of those places in their process, whether it be sales process or an operational system, and to surface those things where they have frustration. And then I will feed AI all of those interviews and ask it some probing questions. And I also always have it use a role, play a role of a kind of analyst role, but also to surface things that I hadn't thought of answering or asking, and also any discoveries that are correlations that it found in the different interviews, because people across the company don't do things the same way. And the business owner isn't aware of that, or it may be aware of it, but he may be aware of it, but he just, that's just the way that they do it. And that's not an excellent company, in my opinion. If you don't pay attention to that. So I use AI in that way to help inform management that here's some places of friction. And by the way, here is what the people that are using our systems feel about them. This is how they view them, as maybe a vehicle. Like, I asked a question to one of my clients, people, oh, if the sales process was like a vehicle, what vehicle would it be? And I'm talking about an automobile or something like that. And a couple of them said Ford, but one of them said a Ford minivan, or they said minivan, because there's lots of people in the journey, in the sales journey with me. And I thought that was a really insightful answer from that person. But how do you use AI to help inform decisions to help companies grow faster and scale?
I think that this is a topic for a whole separate interview, to be honest.
Yeah.
There is like so much that you can do. It's of course very hard to keep track on everything, but
Yeah.
I'm going to actually get back to what we've just discussed, and then to maybe uh, bridge something that you've said. So there is this methodology from Neil Rackham. It's called spin selling, SPIN.
Yeah,
And it
I've heard
stands
of it.
for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. And let me just give you an example that just a couple of years ago, when you wanted to use the methodology, you needed to read a book from Neil. You needed to actually, like run an internal workshop, think about stuff, analyze your buyer personas, and then try to think of the questions for every stage of the process. So situation questions, problem questions, implications questions, and so on and so forth. Right now, if you will go to various AI models like ChatGPT, and you will give them insights about your business, about your buyer persona, and about your clients, and you will tell them, okay, I need spin selling questions for my specific industry. Can you formulate them and give them context? You are immediately getting, I would say, very good quality results.
Yeah.
And it speeds things up for you to behave in a professional way. The another tip that I would have, like a very general, very generic kind of a thing, is that try to educate yourself about how professionals do this. And you can do this with YouTube, you can do this with articles, you can do this with books, with audiobooks. You can also do this with AI, and try to point AI to those authorities, to those role models, to those professional handbooks, workbooks, titles, and so on and so forth. And then ask them to use methods of these people and try to get the best possible results. And it can speed things up, and then can improve things a lot. But so that's the very generic kind of a thing. But to answer your question, I would say that models within ChatGPT are a great starting point for multiple aspects of running business, from analyzing certain things to creating content, brainstorming on ideas for different departments, for different campaigns, and so on. So these are the things that maybe for some people are obvious, but maybe if someone had never built their own GPT model, then I would recommend to try it out, because this one is great. But in general, I think that a lot of things around analyzing data, from what is on the internet to what is in my Excel sheet, what does my P&L tell me, I think AI is doing an excellent job on that. So analyzing data and automating parts of our work and helping boost our creativity, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that AI can be a deep subject, especially with operations and content, and it's never ending, and it's moving really fast, so it's hard to keep up with. So how do you keep your team responsive without burning out?
Responsive or responsible?
Yeah.
So I would say that I'm a fan of very, I would say, modern, I would say startup-ish kind of an approach, Gen Z kind of an approach to managing the workspace and people around me. So in my case, it's like I plan tasks on weekly basis for all of my team members. And as these tasks are planned, apart from the date that they're supposed to execute, there is no time constrictions on that. So I would say that the first thing to answer your question is that try to use project management software of some sorts, like Monday, like Trello that you mentioned, Asana, or in my case, it's ClickUp, very handy kind of a piece of software. And then I would say give people as much space as they need when it comes to when are they actually going to execute the tasks. Because from what I'm seeing lately, the Gen Z and younger people and younger generation, they tend to work in a different manner. They
Yeah.
prefer to be more agile, more, like free of their time. And sometimes I'm getting responses very early in the morning and sometimes very late at night. And I don't mind, because as long as they are delivering within a certain time frame, I don't really care that much if this is like a morning, mid of day, or end of day.
Yeah. That brings up just kind of the micromanagement of things. You mentioned you setting up tasks. These are obviously part of your regular system. How do you keep them motivated without micromanaging?
To be very honest with you, I don't know how to answer that question. I've never, ever in any of my businesses had any problems with motivation
Uh-huh.
of my employees. But what I think is important, I think that like this is sort of my hunch right now, or my assumption, because I work with goals. And those goals are very transparent to all of the people that are working for me in any business. So therefore, they have a sense of purpose and they know what
Mhm.
we are working towards and why. So in this, within this area, I never had any issue with people not being motivated to execute what they need to execute. So I think that's one aspect. And another one, which may be the reason why I don't have any issues with motivation whatsoever, is the fact that I really take a good care of people's development. So I not only plan the development of the business, of where are we going to do with, where are we going with what, and how are we going to achieve it, and so on and so forth, but also with people. So what do you need to do for yourself in order to grow, in order to be happy about what you do? What are the preferences of yours, and what would you like to do in order to be fulfilled, in order to be happy with your work? And of course, I am very clearly communicating that it's not always going to be what you want or what is your favorite thing to do, but I am always striving to help people grow within their areas of interests and keep them challenged in this positive way. So I think that's my recipe for motivation.
Yeah, I think there's an underlying thing to your success is that you've established this sustainable structure and method of doing business that seems to be ethical, and also it gives them feedback on how they're doing. So n- going into a company that doesn't have that, going to work for the company, I think that company is going to have a high turnover. There are certain companies that are known for really, really high turnover. And the reason, and I think one of the reasons is that they don't have a really good system in place to operate, to sell, to develop, like you, all these things you've touched on. I think it is that secret sauce that you're talking about, and obviously having values and morals that support the business owner, or the business has a reputation. It wants to treat people in a certain way. Some business owners don't care how people are treated. I think how do businesses scale? A business owner scale his business and grow while keeping his core values in his or her core values in place.
I definitely agree with that. Another recommendation from me is the book by Ray Dalio, Principles. I think it's an excellent book on business and how things are supposed to be done. I'm not saying that the Ray Dalio's method of management, which is like a radical meritocracy, is going to work in every business, especially in smaller ones. It can be very hard to implement. But I think that the principled way to run things, ranging from how do we deal with problems, how do we deal with stress, how do we communicate with each other, and also communicating these principles to your team can be a very important building block of the company's culture.
Yeah. Well, we're getting down to the wire here, and I want to ask you one more question about, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like our audience to know, some sort of message that you'd like to leave with them?
I would say that the message that I have is, I think this kind of an optimistic message of don't give up. I think that entrepreneurship can be very discouraging at times. And there is very little that I think people are telling about this, let's say, darker side of entrepreneurship. It's oftentimes a very lonely journey. It's oftentimes discouraging on many aspects in many areas because people start to quit, because you don't have enough leads, because you don't have enough clients, because you are struggling with this or that. And in my experience, when I know some entrepreneurs that are opening up with me and being honest with me, all of us have struggles of various sorts.
Of course.
And my message is that we all have struggles. Don't give up. And if you struggle with something, try to find a mastermind, a group of peers, or someone that you can talk to, preferably also another fellow entrepreneur. Maybe there is a possibility that someone has already solved the problem that you are struggling with. Probably there is a big possibility about that, but at all times, don't give up.
Yeah, and I like your idea of seeking mentorship or some sort of peer group or mastermind is a really, really good way to, especially when you're in that lonely space of being an entrepreneur, especially a solo entrepreneur, having that feedback from others who have hopefully have already, like you said, solved the problem, or they're at the success level that you're seeking, is really important. So, Olaf, thank you very much for coming today. As people want to reach out to you, they can find you on LinkedIn and start a conversation there. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with today before I sign off?
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me. Like I said, don't give up. You guys can find me on LinkedIn. When you type in Olaf Lesniak, you can also find me at deperformancedigital.pl. So this is my website, and you can also feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, doubts, or you would like to have some sort of advice, entrepreneurship, or anything whatsoever. I'm always happy to help.
All right, great. Well, remember, faith and action go hand in hand, so keep the pedal to the metal on. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon and Olaf Lesniak. Thank you so much, my brother, for coming today. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Have a great rest of your day and see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.